Hello and welcome to the North Campus presentation of the Tuesday topics for the Junior Parent Information session. We're excited to have you joining us here for this presentation. We'd like you to have a little bit of an idea of the direction that we're heading in today. First, you will hear some of our information that the students have been hearing during our presentations. The school counselors go in to talk with the junior class about 3 times per year. Our first presentation gives the juniors an overview of what's important for them to know their junior year and preparing them for senior year as well. You will also be hearing a little bit about career cruising, which is a tool that the students can use for occupational choices and for helping them to learn more about what career options are available after high school. We'll be talking a little bit about the ACT, SAT, different tests that students will be taking both in their junior and senior years. And finally, you'll be hearing about what does it take for students to be both accepted and to be successful in college. Students do have an opportunity to meet with college representatives during their lunch periods. Announcements will be made both online on our website and also read every morning so students can know which college representatives are going to be here. We'd like you to know a little bit about who we're working with, and this is the class of 2014. As you can see here, that's a snapshot of the class. Every year there are things that do change. We want to highlight that there will no longer be the ranking class. It's no longer included on the transcript. And this is just so that colleges have to take a closer look at your student and see them as a whole versus just looking at that number. We want them really to pay attention to what types of classes the student has taken here at Arrowhead and also what other types of extracurricular activities, other types of skills that they have, and not just take a look at them as where they fall within that class. We have upcoming the Wisconsin Education Fair. It will be held here at Arrowhead. There's going to be representatives from many different education institutions. It's going to be about 100 different attendees from colleges all the way from Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota, and also military. There will also be financial aid presentations if you want to get just a small snapshot of financial aid. You can do that by attending one of the sessions. We really like to think of this as the beginning step to go from thinking about college to acting on getting more information and getting more involved in that college search process. It's a great place for students to ask questions and to gather materials from many different colleges and many different educational institutions all at one time. We encourage students to go online to register for the fair before they come. We will have the lab available that evening with people to help them register in the case that they don't get registered before they come. But each student will be receiving their very own barcode, which is how the college representatives can track the student. So this has their personal information on it. It also has career information as well. Excuse me. We will have a list of questions available for them to ask the representatives. There will also be questions available on the website for how to make the conference more meaningful. There really aren't any bad questions. It's not an evaluative type of organization. It's for information only. And it can also be beneficial to bring along younger siblings. It's good for them to see and for them to get an idea of what kinds of opportunities there are out there. It's never too early to start the college search process, so it can be a great opportunity to bring the whole family as well. There's typically about 800 people that come to the fair. The transcript review will be done at every junior conference. It's very important that students know what is on their transcript. You can do that by looking at the Skyward website and looking at the academic history, and that will show the grades. Grade changes don't happen automatically. You must take a look and see if the grade has been changed. You must call the counseling office and speak with one of your counselors, and we can get those grades updated. You can also take a look at it and make sure that it's accurately reflecting all your information. And this is especially important before it gets sent on to the colleges, but it's a good time to take a look at it now during the junior year. Again, each of the counselors will go over the student's transcript with them at the junior conferences. We'll be having more information later in the presentation about junior conferences and how to make those appointments. And lastly, it's very important for students to get to know their counselor. My name is Brianne Malos. I am a new school counselor here this year. I work primarily with students A through G, and so it's very important for me to get to know the students this year in order for me to write them letters of recommendation and to give them better assistance with that college search process or their post-secondary options. It really helps when I talk with them about what their goals and what their interests are. And we love to see students drop in just to say hello, tell us how they're doing. It's very easy to make appointments. You can stop in and talk with Mrs. Morrison. She has all of our calendars, or you can call or email any of the counselors to get information as well, or to sign up for a meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Middich. I am the counselor for the middle section of the alphabet, what we call the HO train, last names beginning with the letters H through O. And I have the ugly task, at least in the view of some of the students, of talking about testing. The PSAT is the first test that's going to come up for the students, and we have the ACT, SAT, Compass, and I'll also briefly mention the AP exams. What I do want to reassure you with is that during your junior conference, we will address specific testing concerns with your student depending on what their goals and their interests are. First, we have the PSAT for the juniors. That will take place in October, and it is an all-school test day. If you have younger children who are freshmen and sophomores, they will also be taking a test on that day. There we have for 9th grade the Explore test. For 10th grade we have the Plan. And here at North Campus we do the PSAT for all of our juniors. What I think is really important to make sure we don't do is that we don't look at our tests as numbers, but really looking at those tests as results with good information to help us to know what to do next. For example, there will be lists of what are your weaknesses, what are the students' strengths, what might be some coursework for them to consider their senior year. We want that to be paramount when they make decisions. What are their skills and how can they improve those skills? The PSAT is also the baseline for the National Merit Scholarship Awards. So the PSAT will allow students to go on in that competition provided that they have the score that's established for the state of Wisconsin. In the past, we've been around a 210 on that score, but that can vary from year to year. In your handy-dandy red folders, you did receive today information about the PSAT. It does have a sample test so that students get an idea of what kind of difficulty they might be looking at in coming up with how to prepare. About 85% of the kids at Arrowhead take the ACT. It is the test that most Wisconsin colleges and universities prefer. It is accepted by all of them. It does look at 4 basic areas, as you can see on the PowerPoint slide. There is an optional 5th test called the Plus Writing. We encourage all of our students to take the Plus Writing test because it simply gives them more information about their skills and their strengths. The ACT is a bit different than the other tests the students are used to because for the first time they have to register themselves. They do that by going to the website act.org. A little later, you're going to hear about some websites, and what is critical for us to understand on those websites is that they're no good unless they're used. So we do want students to go to that ACT website. They can even do some practice questions online, and there are some other resources that you'll be introduced to as well. Even though we don't want students to necessarily take the ACT until the end of the school year, when most of their academic work is complete, we do want them to register for the test now. By registering now, they're being assured of an opportunity to test here on their home turf. Home field advantage is always a good thing. So we do want them to be on that front end of this process. Sometimes students want to know how many times should I take the ACT, and it's different for every student. ACT uses the line about just because you weigh the pig more often doesn't mean it gets heavier, and scores don't improve just because you take the test more often. What happens in between test dates is what's really critical. Sometimes students take the approach that they're going to take the test in December or February as a practice, and then they're going to look at the results, change their approach perhaps, to maybe take a prep class, and then they would sign up to take the test for April and or June as well. I would say the bulk of our kids take the test at least 2 times. Some are going to be taking that test 3 times. Also note on the bottom that there are some things that students want to make sure they're aware of. They have to have an ACT approved calculator. There has to be a photo ID provided for students. There also needs to be with them when they come on that morning an admission ticket. So we're looking at students to come prepared, come feeling confident so that they will do their best on that test. These are the 6 test dates for the ACT, and each year they have 6 dates. We are unusual again at Arrowhead in that we offer the test all 6 of those test dates. On that day, the staff that is working is employed by the ACT. They're not employed by Arrowhead. And so it's important to remember that we have to follow the ACT rules. And one of those is that you have to have a photo ID in order to test. So even though you might be my next door neighbor and I know you very well, that doesn't mean I can let you test. You must have that photo ID by the policies established by the ACT. Very briefly, we want to talk about the SAT, and I say briefly because less than 30 of our students, not 30%, but less than 30 of our students take this exam each year. Some regions do have this as their preferred test, and the state of California is also huge on the SAT. Many colleges will use a concordance chart, which allows them to convert an ACT score to an SAT score, or vice versa. Wisconsin curriculum is used in establishing the ACT test questions, as are some other states in the Midwest, so sometimes our students do score slightly higher on that ACT. However, the SAT is required if the student wants to be a qualifier for the National Merit Scholar Competition. The two closest locations for the SAT would be Homestead High School in Mequon or Nicolet High School on the North Shore. In your individual junior conferences, we'll also talk about those subject tests, which may be something that your student wants to consider in that college admission process. The Compass is an exam that the technical colleges in Wisconsin require. It is a computerized assessment, and what is different about the Compass than the ACT or SAT is that the students take this after they are admitted to a school. The technical colleges in Wisconsin also will honor an ACT score. So if your student takes the ACT, they can submit that for placement in certain programs, and they maybe would not have to take that Compass exam. How do students get better test scores? We always recommend read. Be a reader. Reading is important on every single one of the ACT examinations. Even the math test has reading components, so we want students to get used to reading on a regular, frequent basis. There is an ACT prep book that students can pick up in the counseling office, and it has retired test questions in that book. And what the design is to help the student to simulate a test environment. If you wanted to give it a shot under time conditions at the kitchen table, that would be great. That is trying to take a look at what the student would experience on that actual test day. If a student takes the ACT in December and they get the results back, there's going to be some really good indicators for them on what they want to use in order to get better on their next shot. We do have an official prep program here at Arrowhead. although WCTC and UW Waukesha also have official test prep programs. There are also some for-profit organizations like Sylvan and Huntington Learning Centers that would have official test prep programs. Ours is the 4 Saturdays prior to the ACT in April. The first one is going to be a practice test, which the students at the end will score, and then they can determine how they want to approach the remaining 3 Saturday mornings. Finally, the AP exams are administered here at Arrowhead, and the testing window is posted in the PowerPoint for you. If you were to go to the College Board website, you would also be exposed to a lot more material about those AP exams. Our local website here at Arrowhead does have each specific exam's date and time for the administration of that test. We don't get to choose when we want to have the AP exams. AP College Board makes that decision for us. Again, AP exams and AP courses are going to be talked about in detail in that individual junior conference, which we want each of our students to do. Thank you very much. If you have any questions about testing, our phone numbers and extensions are listed in the back of the PowerPoint presentation. Don't hesitate to give us a call.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Rodenkirk, and I'm going to talk to you about post-secondary or post-high school options. We know just from looking at previous classes that have graduated from Arrowhead that about 85% of our students do go on to a 4-year university. And that means there are 15% of our students that do pursue some other options. So we want to make sure to cover a couple of different things for you today. First of all, I'd like you to look at the technical college handout, and that's the green handout in your packet. And you'll see that all 16 of the technical colleges are listed on the side there. Most of you are familiar with WCTC or MATC. There are actually more colleges than that around the state that are part of the technical college system. If you feel like you might be headed, or your student might be headed for a 2-year degree in a technical field, definitely have them check out the technical colleges, and that's something we can talk about during the junior conference as well. Each of the schools offers a little bit different programming. So for instance, not all of them have a culinary program, or not all of them would have a firefighter program or an accounting program. You will want to look at that information for each school and see which of those options would work the best for you. There's some definite benefits to a technical college degree. The employment rate in the state of Wisconsin for technical college graduates is actually pretty high, and they do a very nice job with job placement. On the yellow handout, this is information that is new this year that we got directly from the UW schools. And this gives us some information about admission practices system-wide. We just got back from a in-service meeting with the UW admission counselors, and they gave us the updated information for this year. So although each of the individual campuses might have different guidelines and requirements, the general guidelines for getting into any of the UW schools remain the same. And if you'll flip to the back of that page, you'll see that students wanting to go to any UW school are required to take 4 years of English in high school, 3 years of math, and to minimally get through advanced algebra or higher, 3 years of natural science, and 3 years of social science or social studies. There's also room in there for 4 years of electives. Each of the campuses is going to look at those electives a little bit differently. Some of them will count fine arts electives or business electives. Other colleges will count foreign language as that. Madison and Eau Claire actually require you to have 2 years of foreign language, but if you have it and you're applying to one of the other schools, they will count that toward your years of electives. Other options that students might want to pursue are apprenticeships done with a local business, sometimes in conjunction with the technical college, and we can certainly give you more information about that at your junior conference if that's something you're interested in. We have other students that go directly into the work field, especially if they're working now in a field that they intend to pursue as a career. We do have some students that do that, and we have some that go into the military as well. Let's talk for a minute about what the colleges are looking for, whether it's the 2-year schools or the 4-year schools. Your academic factors are always going to be the most important factor. Other things that we'll talk about a little bit later can sometimes enhance an already good application, but your academic factors are always going to be the most important thing that colleges look at. And what we're hearing from the colleges is that they really appreciate rigorous classes. Now, sometimes students get a little bit worried when we say that you need to have rigor in your schedule because they think that means they need to have 4 or 5 or 6 AP classes when they graduate. It might mean that for some students, but it might not mean that. Rigor can sometimes mean making sure you take 4 years of math instead of stopping after 2 years or 3 years. Or doubling up on English, the second semester of your junior year, taking that advanced comp, taking that literature class in addition to your English 11. Making sure that you've got that fourth year of science and fourth year of social studies. All those things are considered rigor, and those things are what prepares a student to do very, very well in college, because that's the ultimate goal, not just to get in, but to do well once you're there. And by taking rigorous courses in high school, those are the people that do better when they get to college. Grade point averages are also very important. We want rigorous classes, but we want the students to do well in them. And that's always a fine line of, well, how well is well? And is a B in an AP class or an upper level class as good as an A in a regular class? And that's a pretty subjective question, but what the colleges are telling us is that they do want the rigor, and the grade point average is also something they look at. So the best of both worlds is to do well in a rigorous class. But I wouldn't discourage anybody from taking a rigorous class because they're worried they might get a B in it, for example. Test scores are also an important factor of what the colleges look at. As Mrs. Mittich was talking about, the colleges in the Midwest tend to look more at the ACT. They prefer that test over the SAT, and that's an important factor in what they're looking at in terms of admission. Some secondary factors that colleges might be looking at include what you see there. These factors are never going to be more important than rigorous classes, your grade point average, and your ACT, but these are things that could take a good application and enhance it and be even better. So the type of co-curricular and extracurricular experiences, volunteer work, leadership. If your child has a part-time job, we encourage them to list that on their college application. The colleges are trying to get a picture of who your child is outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom, and how they handle multiple demands on their time. And if they're able to do these things and still maintain a good grade point average, then that speaks very well to their chances for success in college. We certainly encourage you and your children to explore some options. Junior year, I think, is an ideal time. It's kind of the time when most people start thinking about doing this, and we'll definitely stress this at your junior conference, the importance of college visits. What you're really trying to find is that sense of fit. When you visit a college, it is different than seeing it online, and it is different than looking at it in a book. You really get a sense of the intangibles when you're walking around campus. And sometimes the students will tap into that and they'll say, yeah, I really can see myself at this school, or nope, it's just not happening for me, it's not clicking. But that's why you would want to go out and do some visits. Fall is a wonderful time to visit. I remember doing college visits with my own 2 kids who are in college now, and every place we visited in the fall I fell in love with. I thought it was a wonderful place. It's a very fun time to go in the fall, but be sure you go when the weather is bad too, so you really kind of get the sense of what different times of the school year are going to be like. Internet is a great place to search for college information. In the click of a mouse, you can be on a school's website and poke around and kind of see what they have to offer and what the school might look like to you. Career cruising is something that we use with our students. They begin in middle school, and we use it all the way through high school. There are some features on there that are very nice. You can look at colleges, and you can sort them by their different criteria. So for example, if you want a school where you can double major in marketing and Spanish and play Division II basketball and go on a study abroad trip, you can plug those criteria into Career Cruising, and it's going to give you a list of all of the schools that match that criteria, which is a very nice feature. We also encourage you to check out the college guides and rankings books that are out there. I would take the numerical rankings with a grain of salt. I think, what college is best or not best is a very subjective thing, but it can give you a sense of what the school is all about. There are also some college fairs that are coming up, in addition to the Wisconsin Education Fair, which we talked about a little bit earlier. That is here on October 2nd. There are also two other ones, October 4th and 5th, the Performing and Visual Arts College Fair, and that is in Chicago, and then the National Education Fair, which is this coming weekend at the Frontier Airlines Center in Milwaukee. And those are great opportunities to go and talk to lots of admissions representatives in a very low-key environment, a very non-evaluative environment. They're not taking notes on your child. It's really a time to go and explore and ask questions and find out as much information as you can. Talked a little bit about career cruising. There are a lot of great features. You can save information to your career cruising portfolio. You can explore different careers. You know, what does a typical day look like in the life of an accountant or in the life of an engineer? And it's a great place for your child to begin exploring, am I really interested in this career? They can look at different majors and what classes that a person in a typical major would take. We talked a little bit about the college search. There's information about financial aid on there. A couple of additional items, just a few reminders before we wrap it up today. On the orange sheet, you will see a list of college selection criteria. This just reiterates what we talked about, how the courses you take and the grades that you take in them are the most important thing that colleges look at, and then it really goes down the list of what some of the other factors might be. The Fabulous 5 websites, these are great websites to go take a look at college information and career information, and you'll see those listed there. And then also on the orange sheet is a list of potential Tuesday topics that you might see coming up this year. We are going to be doing a financial aid one for senior parents, and that's in December, although junior parents are welcome to come to that. If you know somebody who's coming and you hear about it and you want to come, that is perfectly fine. You actually won't be able to use the information until about a year after that, but that's coming up. In the spring, you'll get the PSAT results back and understand how to use those. We'll also be doing one for our sophomore parents on what's coming up at the end of sophomore year and beginning of junior year. We've also got one on transitioning to college and then how to get started on those college applications next summer, which is going to come quicker than you might think. We also encourage you to set up a junior conference for your child. This can be done a couple of different ways. You are welcome to call either Gail Morrison, our guidance secretary, or call your child's counselor if you happen to know what your child's study hall is and want to set that up. Perhaps you have a specific day that you know you're going to be off of work and you need to schedule it for that day. I would say the earlier the better, so we can get you an appointment on the day that you would like to have it. Or have your child come in and make that appointment. We do ask that they bring their phone with them so they can plug the date into their phone as a reminder. The conferences usually run about 40 minutes and they're held during a study hall time. We're beginning them the beginning part of November. We go through January, then we take a short break so we can process course selections for next year. And then we resume those a few weeks later and go until the end of April. As on the orange sheet, this is a list of potential Tuesday topics that are coming up, so please watch for Sky Alert emails and postcards to come home, and we'll keep you in the loop on what is happening. We thank you very much for your attention today. Here is our contact information, our voicemail extensions, as well as our email. If you need to contact any of us, that is how you would do it, and we'd be glad to get back to you right away if we're not able to take your call at that moment. And again, we thank you for your attention and hope you have a great day.